especially for a Catholic, because when you experience this, you know that God didn't want this. This couldn't be God's plan. That's how it feels to you. It feels like an abysmal failure. And it is taken with Christ. It can move you to profound humility, which is good. So at the age of 20, with this beautiful little girl, I thought, if I am to do right by her, I will need Jesus. Jesus will have to parent this child with me. And I ran into the church, and the church was waiting for me. And I received excellent pastoral support, and the marriage was eventually annulled. I stayed single for 11 years and just floated in my relationship with Christ. During that period, sometime in my early 20s, I began to have experiences that were mystical in nature. Everyone here has had mystical experiences. Isn't it true? Or you wouldn't be here. Because somehow you've heard Christ calling and you've answered. So I didn't tell anyone about these experiences because all mystical experiences, all authentic mystical experiences are deeply personal. Deeply personal. Others really can't even understand what you're talking about, right? How it impacted you, how it impacts you, how it's altered you, the extent of the grace. So I told my parish priest, and he was, a blessing, and everything was fine. After 11 years of being single, and I wanted to remain single, I felt that when my daughter was raised, I would find some kind of a religious life. I became a secular Franciscan. But the Lord had other plans. That was my plan. The Lord was actually forming me for the role of wife and mother. And after 11 years, I met my husband, and in 6 months it was over. That was it. Jesus was calling me into marriage. So we had 5 children in 8 years. Can you imagine those 8 years? I don't remember them. I see pictures periodically. I say, who was that baby? It was a blur. But then at the age of 40, I began to experience enhanced mystical things. And so at some stage, the Lord told me to write these things down, bring them to the bishop and the parish priest, and I did. And this apostolate came to be. Now you say, okay, what is the Lord saying? What is the purpose of this? I mean, if Jesus, part of the way the Lord reveals himself to me is through locution, interior locution. And you might say, what is this locution? I don't understand. For me, it is the Lord speaking to me in my soul. I hear his voice in my soul. Now, I'm not confused about whether or not it is Jesus or Our Lady. A locution is in itself a grace and comes with enormous grace so that you can receive it. I know the Lord's voice. I know that it's heaven, and there are no doubts about it. These are very different from the normal inspirations that we receive in prayer. A locution is a supernatural experience, and you know it when it happens. Now, what did Jesus say? I will tell you, if Jesus came to me in a locution and said, I'm planning a worldwide renewal, and I want you to participate, I would have fallen over dead. There's no way I could have handled that in the beginning. This is what the Lord initially came. I'll tell you how he started with me. When I was in my 20s, I would receive communion every day, and I would go and receive communion. I would go back to my pew, And I would kneel down and I would say, Jesus, are you there? And I did this every day. You know, you have your habits in prayer. And one day, I was going up to receive communion, and I was distracted. I was thinking about probably money worries, school. I was in college, probably worried about my daughter, and you know, these things that are part of our life. And I wasn't really connected to the reality that I was receiving Jesus in the Eucharist. And so I went back and I knelt down on my pew and continued to think about these worries. And a voice said, Anne, are you there? I knew with certainty that this was Jesus Christ who had spoken to me. And I knew with certainty that I was loved. I tell you, it changed my life. For days I was walking on air. I didn't tell anyone, but it really changed me. So let me give you an example of some other locutions. The way the Lord started to work with me was to just draw me further into holiness, and holiness takes place in the privacy of the soul. This movement to holiness takes place in here, and it's not something that other people can see or evaluate. But as an example now, when the locutions increased in my 40s, Jesus said one day, Anne, I am with you. And I thought, yes, clearly. I get that. But then he said it again, Anne, I am with you. And then a third time he said, Anne, I am with you. And I thought, yes, Jesus, I heard you the first times. Why do you keep repeating yourself? I know. And he said, you're not understanding this. You don't understand how much I am with you. So he said, we're going to do an exercise all day today. I want you to carry your notebook, because I'm going to ask you to record for me at a minute's notice. So this was very inconvenient for me. I didn't want to do this. And I thought, okay. I have a busy day. It's silly, but okay. I felt so silly. So I carried my notebook and I went to get my hair cut. That was the first port of call. And when I came out, I thought, my hair is too short. I wasn't happy with my haircut. Maybe this has happened to you ladies. And a voice said suddenly, yes, well, it won't interfere with your ability to work, so serve. And it was Jesus. And he said, I am with you. And he said, write that down. So I recorded it. And then my daughter was at home sick. And this was actually how the day started. My little girl was sick. She was 4, and she used to go to a preschool a couple mornings a week. And she came out and she said she had a fever. Her eyes were, she was hot. And I said, you can't go to school today. You're sick. And she said, I have to go to school. We're doing something special. It's important. I have to go. I said, honey, you can't go. You're sick. You have a bug. And she said, Mom, I'm not a bug. And I heard Jesus laugh just like you laughed. And he said, I am with you. Now write that down. Now after the haircut, I got home and there was a card on the table my husband had left for me to sign for somebody. And this person and I, we had challenges together. So when I saw the card, I thought, okay. And then I thought to myself, boy, that is so not Christian. That is so not Christian. What's the most I can do here? So I wrote on the card and I said, come and visit us. And I heard Jesus say, well done.